Welcome everyone, thank you for being here. And I wanted to say I appreciate your adaptability this week. I know we had to change the dates and I really appreciate it. So, I wanted to review our group rules. We only had two. Confidentiality, keep what is said here, and be respectful of one another when the other person is speaking. Okay? So last week we talked about the environmental, developmental, major life changing, and interpersonal stressors that we are experiencing currently in our lives. Now we're going to start investigating some of those stressors, where they come from, and learn about how we notice them so that we can manage our stress effectively in the future. I'd like to begin by discussing some of our stresses that we have experienced this past week. Would anyone like to start?
Okay, so I think for me, in the environment that I work in, I would have to say working with high-risk youth, it's not so much the kids that cause the stress, it's the grown-ups.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like everybody's lack of pre-planning becomes your emergency, so they expect you to stop what you're doing to take care of something that they need, and it's been just that all week long.
Okay.
Everybody else's emergencies that ended up being on my desk.
Yeah, so the people,
Mm-hmm.
the grown-ups.
The grown-ups who
Yeah.
are constantly just trying to shift the things that they should have done for days and weeks before to, hey, can you
Yeah.
get this done for me? Hey, can you get, because the term case manager obviously means that I facilitate Wi-Fi in the house, or, you know, I get them a car, or, you know, just things that aren't really in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, so
So.
something like that's more like towards people
Mm-hmm.
is this, more of that identified stressor that's
Mhm.
occurring.
Yep, it's definitely a people thing.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Also within my work, I have to write reports for assistants
Mm-hmm.
and for the probation assistants for court, because they're not paid to write the reports. And I have come across where the judge orders things to be done and the assistants have not followed through with that. And
Okay.
so then I'm having to tell the judge why things haven't been done. And that's stressful for me because it's my name going on that report, so that judge probably thinks that I'm the one dropping the ball on all of these people.
Oh, wow.
And so that's extremely stressful.
Yeah. So having to kind of answer for other people's mistakes.
Right.
Yeah. So those are both great examples of a stressor and the cause of the stressor. So it's very important to learn when talking about stress management, how, when, and where. Those three things, where your stress comes from. So that we can anticipate and prevent our stress. So
avoid people.
Yeah, well, certain people, maybe certain people, or maybe you might notice that certain locations where you meet those people. So for instance, does anyone have maybe an example where you run into the person, they have like oh, I've been meaning to look for you, I have something, and you start realizing you're stressed because that person does that and they put something more on your plate.
Right.
So it could be a person, just one person, specific like people in that like you said, the PAs.
Mm-hmm.
Like the location you see them, kind of how their anxiety, maybe you might play off of that anxiety. So kind of noticing those things throughout your day, or when you're realizing you're stressed, could be good indicators of your sources. So does anyone have something that kind of relates? Like I had an example, but does anyone experience something like that?
Well, not relating to what I said earlier, but also within work, it's stressful when I see my court bag is really full, and there's not the information from any of the officers, and so you have to go down or email or go down and talk to them and ask them like where their memos are, and that's stressful. So now I've just kind of been trying to eliminate that and just sending out a blanket email to
Okay.
their supervisors to try to eliminate some of that stress.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily a place where I'd run into them, but
But
it's
a
the
location.
situation,
Yeah.
that I'm gonna have to deal with, and the location would be easier
Yeah,
through the email.
absolutely. That's very true. Do you have any?
For me, I think, I'm noticing that from the time that I'm seen in the parking lot to the time if I walk down the right side of the hallway to my office, I can go either way. When I go to the right side, I never make it before I'm bombarded with people asking questions.
Oh, yeah.
If I go the left, I can kind of sneak in and get to my desk and shut the door and at least have that 20 minutes before anybody starts prodding and poking it, you know.
Yeah, to check your
To
emails,
check,
kind of
yeah.
get into that
Yeah.
work mode.
Yeah.
So that's a good way. That's kind of like gonna be how we segue and we make our stress management plans. It's kind of like that, choosing the right side of the
Mhm.
hallway.
That's
So-
it.
So being able to identify those things in our lives, those three things. So also in learning to manage our stress, it's important to find out and become aware how we manifest our symptoms. So last week I gave you guys the stress symptom checklist. Tammy, would you like to start kind of talking about some of the things that you documented this week that you noticed?
So, some of the things that I noticed that are indicators that I'm starting to get stressed out is that I can get a lot of stiffness in my neck and joints and shoulders. I tend to carry it through there. The more I have on my plate, the more I tend to kind of raise my shoulders up, and that causes a lot. I get really restless, and so that shows itself in insomnia.
Mhm.
Probably average about 3-4 hours a night in sleep, which brings on the headaches and forgetfulness. I have what I've deemed as any-timers instead of all-timers, and so I can't remember. If it was 24 hours before, don't ask unless I've written it down, because I won't remember anything.
Okay.
And I didn't used to be like that, so I can tell that it's a sign of being stressed.
So
There's another stressor right there. Teenager guilt.
So, in some of those symptoms, did you realize that they were caused by stress before?
I don't think I really thought about it. I think I tried to pretend it didn't exist. But
Okay.
in really looking at it this week, I kind of tracked at what time of the day do they start to come on?
Okay.
Do I wake up with it, or is it towards the end of the day kind of stuff? And it tends to be, it's definitely depends on how full the plate is. And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of led me to one of the things I was thinking about. So, you said a certain time of the day. What did you notice about that?
That there's 2 particular times of the day that I start to get more stressed than
Mhm.
others. I wake up, everybody feels recharged in the morning and you're ready to face your day. It seems like about lunchtime, I start to notice, not that I'm hungry, but just that I need to get up and walk around because I've had a lot of people come to the office. And then again at about 5 or 6 o'clock, I'm noticing that the whole day has gone by so fast,
Yeah.
and I still feel like I just started kind of thing, so
Okay.
you notice.
Yeah, so that's kind of the win in those 3 things. You kind of identified that. So we all acknowledge, I remember that I mentioned it last week, but just to review, everyone experiences these symptoms differently. Did you, in tracking this week, notice anything? What are your symptoms?
Yeah, I also have the restlessness,
Mm-hmm.
but then I'm also that I'm exhausted throughout the day. So I feel like I really never start the day fresh.
Okay.
And so that's hard to even get caught up when you're feeling like you can't wake up.
Yeah.
And then I also get like stomach cramps and headaches and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I also notice when I'm stressed, I will procrastinate a lot. So it's
Mhm.
not necessarily like a symptom, but I definitely will push things off just because maybe the stress of doing it,
Okay.
like homework or test and that kind of thing, where I'll maybe get a little bit of test anxiety.
Okay.
So I'll kind of just push it off,
Mhm.
which just makes me feel horrible for the whole day, which,
Mhm.
and I did recognize that. So when I woke up on Saturday, I did my homework right away, and I felt great for the rest of the day. So that was really helpful. And I also get irritable, and I think that's also probably due to the lack of sleep.
Okay.
And I think that's probably
Enough for one person?
yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
Did you notice any patterns or trends among some of the symptoms? I know you talked about some a little bit just then.
Yeah, well, when it relates to work stress, I will usually notice it immediately in the morning.
Okay.
And then once I get to work, if I can power through a few things, then it'll like alleviate and I'll feel a lot better.
Mhm.
But if something happens where it's like, oh, I'm in court all morning and then I'm still have to do this report, I just kind of feel that all day long.
Yeah.
And then if I don't stay late and finish things, then I'll continually feeling that way, I think, until I'm actually caught up.
Okay.
So it's never really alleviated until I feel like I'm finally caught up.
So kind of like you have your checklist, and once those
Oh,
things are checked off.
Yeah, I always write to-do lists.
Mhm.
I'm constant with those because it just keeps me prioritized and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I try to eliminate stress, but apparently it's not working so well.
Yeah. So I kind of noticed like a delay. You know, you delay doing something, and that
Mhm.
kind of causes even more
Right.
stress, which I think a lot of us experience. You know, like, oh, I don't want to do this. It's stressful. It's hard. It's challenging. And so then you put it off,
Mm-hmm.
and
And it feels great,
And
and
it
you don't have
feels-
to worry about it for a little bit.
for a little bit,
Yeah.
and then you
That
know,
feels
oh,
worse.
why did I do that? Now I have less time to do that. Things like that can be one of those kind of thinking traps that we kind of fall into. So thanks for sharing.
Absolutely.
Another thing that leads to stress is our expectations or belief systems. So would anyone kind of like to share one of those thinking traps that they got in? We just talked about yours with stress.
A thinking trap that I would I think I tend to, and I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but my expectations of myself tend to be a little higher.
Exactly.
I want to take like Medi-Cal billing in my position.
Mhm.
I expect myself to like know that and be an expert at it, and
Yeah.
I just started. So there's like stuff I have no clue what I'm,
Mhm.
but to me that's unacceptable. And so I'll only attempt the things I know I can do, and I'll
Yeah.
stress out about the rest until I figure out a way to be perfect at it, and then I'll do it.
Exactly.
So that kind of is my own self. When I've got everybody telling me, "Oh, it's great, you're fine, you're doing great," or if you have a question, ask me, and I know I can do that.
Mhm.
But for me, it's the perception of this is my expectation for me, and this is what I expect, and so that's the standard that I hold myself to.
Yeah.
So self-imposed craziness.
I do that same thing where I just don't ask for help at work because I feel like as a professional I should be able to get everything done in a timely fashion and know how to do it the right way. Granted, I will ask little questions on things that I maybe haven't seen before, but in general it's like if someone asks if I need help, I will just say no.
Yeah.
And even if I'm backed up or anything like that. So I think I add that kind of stress on myself too.
Yeah. That definitely can happen. I think I do that all the time. All the time. I don't think I have a day where I don't do that. So I feel like that's something within a lot of us. So
Yeah.
So next week we're going to be talking about developing our own personal stress management plans. So I want you guys to be really aware of the symptoms. Where are you at when these symptoms occur? What are you doing? Who's around? What did you just encounter? What time of day was it? Were you hungry? So you might be a little more irritable or prone to stress. So be mindful of that, because we're going to take and document them on a stress journal that I have for you guys. Okay. And this is gonna help us make our stress management plan. So if you guys can do that this week, there's a section for the stressful event, and then where it says stress symptoms, you can write what symptoms you were experiencing or what you noticed and identified as your stressors or your triggers in that moment. So do you think that's something we can all do before next week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we'll meet Monday at 6:30.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Wonderful.